Rising out of the harsh sand dunes of the Thar Desert, these stone structures are the last remnants of an 11th century metropolis. This is Kiradu, a site once so celebrated for its architectural beauty that it was known as the Khajuraho of Rajasthan. At its absolute peak, this was a massive, sprawling complex containing 108 intricately carved sandstone temples. It was a thriving hub of art, religion, and regional commerce. But today, nearly all of it has vanished. This photograph shows the reality of the site today. Out of those original 108 temples, just 5 highly decayed structures remain standing. They are surrounded by completely dead, abandoned settlements and an encroaching layer of arid desert scrub. The sheer scale of this desertion has fueled centuries of local superstition. If you visit the surrounding villages today, locals will heavily warn you to leave the site before sunset, claiming the area is intensely haunted by the spirits of those who vanished. According to the primary regional myth, an angry hermit cursed the entire city, ordering the residents to flee without looking back. A potter's wife couldn't resist glancing over her shoulder, and the legend says she was permanently turned to solid stone. A forensic architectural autopsy reveals the physical culprits behind the devastation of this city, looking past the myths to the evidence left in the stones. Look closely at this photograph of these surviving sculptures. You will immediately notice a highly specific pattern of damage. The heads, arms, and legs of these male and female relief figures are entirely missing, while the flat background stone remains relatively intact. This targeted mutilation is a classic hallmark of human violence. In 1178 CE, Turkic Ghurrid forces invaded the region. Smashing the faces and limbs of a conquered city's idols was a deliberate military tactic used to demoralize the local population and assert dominance. This technical diagram breaks down the anatomy of a Kiradu temple. You have the horizontal foundational section known as the Talchand, and the massive vertical upper spire known as the Udarvachand. Looking at the ruins, a question of mechanics emerges. Despite the foundational damage caused by invasions, thousands of tons of heavy stone in the upper towers remain upright. This animated diagram reveals the specific construction of the Maru Gurjara architectural style. The builders utilized a sophisticated block-to-block interlocking system. They relied on precise geometry and downward weight distribution without using a single drop of mortar. Because the blocks are physically keyed into one another, the multi-story walls act like a flexible skeleton. They can bear immense shifting loads. Even if an invading army destroys a lower block, the interlocking weight of the surrounding blocks prevents a total collapse. Armies could hammer away at the exterior art, but the mass and interlocking physics were beyond the capabilities of medieval weaponry to fully dismantle. In this photograph of the upper shikara, or spire, the damage profile looks completely different. Up here, away from the reach of ancient armies, the protruding carvings haven't been smashed. They appear to have been slowly, smoothly erased. The temples are built from local sandstone, and they sit in an incredibly brutal climate. During a Thar desert summer, daytime temperatures routinely hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit. By nightfall, the temperature plummets down to 11 degrees Celsius. This cross-section demonstrates the physics of those temperature swings. Under intense heat, the physical matrix of the sandstone swells. As the cold night air hits, the stone rapidly contracts. Over 9 centuries, this continuous daily flexing forces the rock to develop deep structural microfractures. Now, look what happens when we add the second environmental variable. High-velocity, sand-whipped wind constantly bombards the temple. Because the stone has already been weakened, the abrasive sand easily catches inside those microfractures and tears the surface away. This photograph of a desert dust storm shows that mechanism at scale. The wind is essentially a massive sheet of industrial grit. It is literally sanding the intricate details of the city down to featureless dust. The desert acts as a methodical demolition crew. It is executing a slow, unavoidable physical erasure that no ancient builder could permanently prevent. These sprawling, maze-like foundation walls belong to Bhangarh, another deeply ruined settlement in the region. Kiradu is actually not an isolated case. The map of Rajasthan is dotted with entirely abandoned ghost towns exactly like this one. And here, glowing in the late light, are the empty stone cenotaphs of Mandore, an ancient capital that was also eventually deserted. Compounding physical tragedies drove the abandonment of these sites. Shifting trade routes starved the economies, while relentless droughts and constant border wars scattered the remaining populations. The ghost stories of angry hermits and petrified women serve a specific anthropological purpose. When a civilization experiences profound loss and forced migration, a supernatural myth helps the culture process the trauma of leaving their home behind. Today, modern archaeologists are stepping in to fight the desert. Teams are using precise injections of calcareous cement to stabilize the microfractures and carefully piece the architectural blocks back together. Ongoing preservation efforts ensure that the history written in these stones isn't lost to the desert. Protecting the surviving engineering and art keeps this resilient record of the past from vanishing forever.